get my,
Okay.
I wanted to see if this would work, and it looks like you can see the image. Is it framed nicely? Is it small or is it nice size on your screens?
It, it's framed nicely. There's a little bit of a black background, but we can
I
still
know.
see. So,
That's kind of funny.
yeah.
You're still there, right?
Yes, we can still.
I just went full screen to try to enlarge it. I don't know why that black background's there, but this was putting this vlog together. It could have been probably 30 minutes long, but there were just so many images and videos I was trying to. I'm not a professional vlogger, but or video editor, but I did my best because I really wanted to capture a little bit of each of the places that I was or experiences that I had. So for those who weren't on the call last time, this is about a trip I took. It was about a 2.5, 3 week trip last summer, starting in Tokyo, Japan, to Hiroshima. So, if you've got a map, if you want to pull up a map to see for yourself, it's two opposite ends of the country essentially. And but everyone knows Tokyo, and then Hiroshima is way west and south. And all of Japan is an island, so pretty easy to get around in general. But we were there for a course. I was a graduate student as of last summer at Columbia in New York, and got accepted to participate in this course where we were focused on learning about the history and the legacy of Hiroshima in the wake of the atomic bombing. So it was the 69th, last summer was the 69th anniversary of the Hiroshima atomic bomb dropping, and this summer will be the 70th. And every year there's a peace memorial ceremony, so we went and visited that in Hiroshima, participated in the ceremony. You'll see some emotional clips from that. This is the hibakusha in the picture here we met. A hibakusha is what they call the survivors of the atomic bombing. They were there on ground zero on the day of the tragedy. Her name was Kiko-san. She was 11 years old, and all of her family survived, thankfully, but she helped um, tend to and tried to save many others in her community. It was a very, very horrific um, event and day, and she told us her story, which was very emotional. But that wasn't all about what the trip was about. We also were traveling to different sites, agricultural sites, learning about um, conflicts around natural resource management on an island like Japan, where they've got a. I know we talked last month about the population of Japan and the density. I believe we said it's about the um, what is it like more people? It's the area. Think of the area of the state of California, but the a population of it's like 10 times the population of the state of California, or even more, 50 times. It's like astronomical. So there's lots of people sharing precious land, but they really do a wonderful job making it work. It doesn't feel congested, even in the city of Tokyo. But there is an issue. There are issues around food production because they're very reliant on other countries, the U.S. and Canada in particular, to import beef and other meat, poultry, produce. They're not producing a lot of their own food, and a lot of the um, demographic, the population is very focused on, is very career oriented, very corporate um, career focused, and they're shifting. Young people are not interested in being farmers, a lot like on here in the U.S., but I think that trend is expedited there, and they have a serious, um, as you may have heard, population decline with a lot of their elders fading away, and who were the farmers originally, and not a lot of babies. So it's an interesting. There's some socioeconomic factors at play. That's what we were studying in the context of being in Hiroshima, having it coincide with that anniversary, and you'll see a lot of images here and videos. They may not all make sense, but we can talk about it after if that sounds good. Hopefully you're still with me. All I see is this picture on my screen.
We also only see that picture. We are with you.
Okay, good. This is what I want you to be seeing, and I'm going to press play, and everything should go smoothly. And you should hear I shared sound. So just, I'm going to pause. Well, I'm going to pause when you should be hearing sound to confirm you're hearing
I
sound.
I believe you are sharing sound. There's a little icon confirming. I will let you know if we don't hear it.
Yeah, okay. All right, here we go. It's just about 6 minutes long. No music for the first few minutes here because it's more emotional. You can hear this, the choir?
Yeah, yes, we
I'm
can.
sorry for if it blasted your eardrums there. Play. I was hoping that clip would go longer. So you can hear my voice too.
Yes, we can.
I can try to voice over some of this. So here we are. We made lanterns to put in the river for the memorial that night. There were thousands of floating lanterns. Everyone wrote different messages on their lantern. But he wants sweets. He definitely wants sweets.
Ellie, we can't really hear you over the video.
That's my voice in the back of this video. I'm not saying anything.
Oh,
That's
okay.
yeah,
I
that's
I
go
am
ahead.
curious though. How big is that deer? Like, it's a little hard to tell. Like, how tall is that guy compared to the deer? Because I see where like the antler comes up to like his.
Yeah,
Mi
he's
mi
sort of miniature. They're sort of these miniature little
yeah.
fawns. Um, yeah, they're probably about up to your waist.
Okay.
Like it shows. You're about to see, I tried to get on his level, his eye level. You're about to see something funny that may illustrate it for you. Ten-minute walk, 7 minute run over. That was my favorite time. I'm back with my second vlog of the trip. I'm sorry that it's been a few days. We haven't actually seen or done anything together because I've been with other people. But I'm finally alone walking around Medellin Island, which has free range deer. It has beautiful mountain peaks, temples, views, the beautiful red gate, it's called, in the water. And it's been extremely hot here today. I actually had mild heat stroke this morning, I think, but I've recovered since. And now I'm going to see some adorable little Buddhas. Thousands of little Buddhas that they cherish. There's gods. And they dress them up in little scarves and hats in the wintertime. Fucking hell, that car just got so close to me on this wide street. They're probably tired of tourists. Okay, I'm gonna sign off here and I'll log back on. Actually, hang on, I've got a deer. Oh no, there was a deer I wanted to show you guys. I got up close to a deer um, on the street. Shoot, I don't know why that cut off. Um, okay, but I'm gonna stop there for now. We can scroll back to certain images if you'd like, but what kind of questions come up this time?
So I think, oh, and I think Miss Athena has a question too, and I'll let her go first. Miss Athena?
This is probably not the question you were expecting, but um,
Yeah,
why did you pick that song? Was it connected to the trip for you?
that song, I yeah, I didn't do as much to blend the audio this time, but I knew I didn't want to play music for the memorial photos and videos because I wanted you to be able to hear the music and appreciate the heaviness of it all. But no, I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of delineate that, okay, now we're on to the fun part of the trip where
Okay.
we were doing some adventuring and fun sightseeing. Yeah, and I thought it was a nice song.
Yes.
I don't have too many choices on my Microsoft software I'm using, but it's a good
Oh,
question.
So we didn't touch on this as much the first time, but I'm curious. What 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 exactly were you eating while you were over there? Like, um, I imagine the food was wonderful. I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we were um and we spent most of our time, like 2 weeks, in Saijo, a suburb of Hiroshima. And what I learned about Japan, and maybe a slight misconception about Japan, is that seafood is literally only served on the coast. You have to um, actually have sea water to have a seafood option in a restaurant for the most part. They're very, again, it has to do with that the way that food travels across the country. But since we were inland, I didn't see seafood until like my third week, my 12 days into the trip. So it was a lot of what you see here was our final dinner as a group. This is the cohort that I was studying with. These are students from all over the world, like I think like 10 different countries, or was it 18 different countries? There were 40 of us, I think, for representing 18 countries. And
What was there any culture shock from within that group?
oh
Like,
yeah, big time. I could tell you a little bit about that. But what you see on the table is, I think it was edamame, a lot of fried, like tempura type items. It was honestly did not feel very healthy. I felt like it was all of it. There was, seaweed and tofu and some really nice light options, but it was a lot of fried. And I think it had to do with the cultural um, aperture of where we actually were in Saijo. Think of a suburban town in the US. Maybe it's not a big culinary destination, but it was chicken, pork, tons of pork. So people who were kosher or I forget the Islamic uh, halal that was really kind of or vegetarian. It was really, really challenging to figure out what was safe to eat that didn't have some sort of pork in it. Um, but I'll stop there. Yeah, and so the cultural just in this group alone, I had they're representing Indonesia, Myanmar, Japan, China, Afghanistan, India, Nepal, Brazil, Colombia, um, Philippines, Vietnam, obviously the US, some countries in Africa that I can't remember right now, but there are a few African students. But yeah, and then so in this room, while we were in this course last August, there was some conflict going on in Myanmar, and some of the students had family that they were worried about. There was a lot of conflict I was learning about. That going on in countries around the world that I was not admittedly was not familiar with prior. The Afghani students were really interested in the election, and it was a little bit interesting speaking to them about that, and trying not to share too much because they were actually government. The two guys were they were working for a government training program. They were young, but they were in some sort of pipeline to become ambassadors, international, like
Yeah.
foreign relation ambassadors. So Germany, Europe, some people from Europe.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Some of us butt heads a few times. Not me in particular, but there was some funny stuff going on. Here I am with the olive farmer that I mentioned to you last time. He really inspired me a lot. He was maybe in his 30s and was living in Tokyo, living the fast life, working really hard for a big corporate company, trying to rise the ladder. When in 2011, I'm not going to pronounce the name right, but there was an earthquake and a tsunami that hit Tokyo and wiped out their nuclear power plant. Um, and yeah, their food, their entire like supply chain around the city also collapsed, and they felt very vulnerable. A lot of people struggled, and he hated that feeling of being so vulnerable and not understanding where his resources were coming from. So he participated in a government sponsored program to go out to the countryside. Today we were in Edajima Island, where the government was promoting young farmers to start businesses, and especially citrus and olive, which they had concluded did really well in this climate. So he had started a really successful olive oil brand and farm. Where's that picture? Trying to show you that this was his he had an award. He won like best olive oil in the world, one of the best olive oil in the world by the New York something, and he was really excited about that. So I'm wearing an olive branch on my head, and we're all holding his products. And it's an organic olive farm, by the way. So what you see me doing here is we had to get up in front of the class and present uh, a bit about our stake. We each had a different farmer who we visited, and we got up and we told their story, and there was a faux scenario. The course is centered around natural resource conflict resolution. So there was a faux conflict that we were, trying to resolve as different, representing each of our different stakeholders. Ours was the farmer. There were a few other farmers. There was somebody who was a school. There was somebody who was the government, local government. There was somebody who was an eco resort who wanted to be in the picture. So we had a little debate and represented each of our entities. So that was cool. What else about Japan? I know that's what's more interesting than anything. Here's another meal.
And
This
what
was our
was that?
first meal. This was our first meal. I had ramen. I forgot to say, lots and lots of ramen. That I loved the ramen. And this was a little hole in the wall place we popped into on the first night. These are my fellow Columbia students. One from the US, one from Brazil, one from the Dominican Republic, one from Germany, two from the US, me and my friend Caitlin here. But we were the only ones from Columbia, and the rest were, like I said, from universities all over the world. But this was us on our first night, and we had ramen and maybe some, I can't remember what else. It was very good, though. He was really funny, the guy serving us. You had to learn some basic Japanese. Mizu means water. Um, Dad, how do you say please again? Or sumimasen, and then you'd point, that means excuse me or please, and point to what you wanted on the menu. But there's not a lot of English being spoken in Japan.
Yeah, sumimasen.
Sumimasen, you say? It was a lot of that, yeah, we were on Google Translate at this dinner trying to understand the menu, and it was fun. We went back there a couple times because like I said, there weren't too many options. This was in Tokyo. My first day, I just landed and went right into sightseeing because I only had limited time in Tokyo. And we got up at like 6 in the morning, and my we had a friend. There was a picture of her over here who showed me around right here. Dad, do you remember her name? I should remember, but I don't. It started with a K. She showed me around this temple, which is the most famous, one of the oldest in the country, but one of the very famous in Tokyo. And if we had been here even 30 minutes later, it's packed with tourists. So the fact we got here so early that I was able to take this picture and not have anyone behind me was a miracle. But once it opens, all these corridors behind me are little street vendors, and they're selling street food and trinkets and souvenirs and a lot of there's a really interesting culture in Japan. We talked a little bit last time around Buddhism and Shintoism, and forgive me, but I can't remember which type of temple this was, if it was Buddhist or Shinto, but both of them have a culture around, writing wishes, making wishes, and writing down prayers. I tried to kind of capture towards the end here, right there, right there, right here. Oh, those Buddhas too, but right here, you would buy these cards, you would buy scrolls, you would buy pieces of incense, and all of them represent a prayer or a hope or a wish, or it could be trying to ward away evil. There's a lot of that, and you'd pray and you'd throw a coin. You'd throw a coin into this, I don't want to call it a bucket, but this vessel right here. There's a lot of rituals around prayer and wishing, if that's interesting to anyone. And like I showed you, um, this was in Miyajima, where I almost passed out from heat exhaustion, but I was totally entranced by these Buddhas. I thought they were the cutest, most amazing thing, but there were thousands of them. Thousands of them. And they're each a different god, a separate structure, a separate sorry, a separate sculpture. And they each get a hat and a scarf in the wintertime because they're each so precious.
If you go down just a little bit there,
Yeah,
uh,
I'll go
Ellie,
to a static picture here. This
no,
one.
no, no, I meant if you go down just a little bit, there's like a volume thing that's like right on the bottom right.
Yeah, are you guys getting blasted, the
Yeah,
volume?
if you just click, yep, there you go. Wonderful.
Okay, sorry.
Now you can play the video and it won't be so.
so abrasive.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was another shrine. Again, I think this was Shinto, I believe. So these are like Shinto gods and um the rituals are all similar but definitely different. Ringing the bell. You saw me ringing the bell. That was interesting. It's a form of prayer and making a wish too.
Hey,
Letting
Ellie,
the kids know that you're there. Go ahead.
so I've been to Japan many times. Um,
Yeah.
and one of the things I remember is when I used to go to the parks, just go out for a walk. Uh, the Japanese people were amazed at, frankly, how tall I was and my blonde hair. And I'm curious whether, and I really stuck out. And the kids would all run up to me and they just kind of, I don't know, just be really intrigued with this large human, this large blonde-haired human. And I'm wondering if did you get any of that when you were over there?
Yeah,
I know you're not tall, but you're
I
obviously not
got it.
Japanese. Did you get much?
Not much in the tourists. I was insulated from a lot of that because I was in this group setting with the other students. But this picture of me here with, well, first of all, yeah, these two guys wanted a picture with me. They were in my class, but a lot of the people were being polite. But this picture here, this on this last day, everyone, the cat came out of the bag, and everybody told me there were like 10 people who all had been secretly talking the last 12 days about how I looked like the female version of Leonardo DiCaprio. And they all wanted to line up and take a picture with me and show their friends back at home that I looked like the female. They look at me and female Leonardo DiCaprio. So I had a lot of people, everyone was being polite until the last day they said, "Can we get a picture? Can we get a picture?" And that was really funny because I had no idea they were talking about me like that. These three girls were Columbia girls, but these three also thought I looked like Leonardo DiCaprio. It was funny. So I'm like, really? Just because I'm white and blonde and but then they did hold up a picture of young Leonardo DiCaprio and we all kind of saw the resemblance. It was funny.
My uncle went to Japan not too long ago, and he's a big, bulky brick house of a man
Yeah.
who is bald headed, and this was before Bruce Willis was so ill, and he got mobbed by Japanese
Oh,
citizens more than once because they wanted to take a picture with Bruce Willis.
oh my gosh.
And he just went with it. He said, "Yeah, okay." And
That's so funny.
it was pretty great, pretty
Yep.
funny. So,
Yep. I mean, just like we're not able to distinguish
yeah.
like differences in facial types sometimes between Asian cultures, they, see our face and think, well, you must be Taylor Swift, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some of that going on. Maybe less in the 80s than there was in the 80s, Dad, but globalism has helped. What else could we go back over? I've got my other pictures that we could look at too, but um I wanted to tell you that me and this was us painting our lanterns, and this was me and this was an orchestra of instruments made from wood collected from ground zero, where the bomb hit. Trees that had been obliterated by the nuclear explosion had been collected and turned into a quartet. And I'm sorry for all the heads and obstruction in the way of this, but I did want you to hear. how beautiful it was, and I cut it off too soon. I cut that video off too soon for some reason, but it was a beautiful song. It was like a major tearjerker to see these after this was after we watched the ceremony, to see these musicians playing on instruments that were actually there on the ground of the day that tragedy happened. And these were like hundreds of young students singing the Japanese national anthem at the Peace Memorial. It was also very eerie. And by the way, this crowd is probably 10,000 people. There's people from all over the world, all the United Nations representatives. And everybody's wearing white. You had to wear white. But what I wanted to tell you quickly was this girl right here. What we were here today, hearing the story of the Hibakusha Keiko-san, who I showed the first picture I showed you, the survivor, who's met, multiple of our American presidents and other leaders from around the world advocating for peace. We also got to meet young students from Hiroshima. Her grandmother was a survivor. A lot of the students' grandmothers were survivors. They were high school aged, and They showed us around the memorial and walked us through the images and the artifacts of, children's charred clothing, lunch boxes, um, really graphic images of what was happening. So that was a beautiful an honor. And here's us in front of the memorial, by the way. That's the entire class. But I know that's heavy history that we don't need to get into, but I did want to show you something. Look
Now,
up Keiko-san. Go ahead.
Ellie, can you find a one of the pictures of the restaurant when you guys sitting at a table in a
Yeah.
restaurant? While she's looking, yeah, right there. So I remember when I was there, they told me that, and I was with business people, and we are sitting around the table, and the most junior person in the company had to sit with their back to the door. Okay,
Hmm.
can anybody on this call think about and say and guess why the most junior person had to sit with their back to the door? Anyone? Anyone?
Because all the senior people wanted to see the door.
Well, that's close. Turns out that because they were worried in the olden days that enemies would come through the door, they wanted the most junior person to be there because so that they were the one that got killed first,
Hmm.
or could protect the other people in the restaurant. I don't know if that.
That was me. This was the door.
Well, interesting. There's only one Japanese person in that room at that
Yep.
table, right?
Yep.
And
He's
who was?
serving us.
Oh, he's serving. Okay,
Yeah.
so there were no Japanese people at that. Okay,
No, it was like a little private dining vestibule. This is like
okay,
seated probably 8 people here.
all right. Well, if you were being hosted by a Japanese company, the most junior person would sit with their back to the door.
Yep.
The other habit I remember being told: don't ever show the bottom of your feet, your shoes. Did you hear that when you were there? Was that something that was people were
It didn't
sensitive
come
to?
up, but I remembered you saying it and I noticed it to be true. I think we talked a little bit last time about all the etiquette in Japan. There's a
Yeah.
lot of strict etiquette. No eating in public, no drinking in public, ideally. No, none of that on public transport. You have to be very quiet in public spaces. You give people space and you don't get too close.
Is the silence drawing on like public transport? I've heard like people don't talk on their phones or
Yep,
use their phones or anything like that on
yep.
public transport.
It's very disciplined. And what else would you say, Dad, about it?
It's just a very respectful, disciplined place.
Respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young people you'd see using their phones, but most everybody else, they're stoic on the transport, and yep, you just really keep to yourself. And so that's why Americans can cause a little bit of a scene when we go over there. What else?
Did you see any sumo wrestlers?
I wanted to see a sumo show, but there weren't any going on when this is a horseshoe crab. We went and saw a marine center. There weren't any fights going on when I was available to see that.
Yes, Miss
You got
Athena.
Oh, I was just gonna ask Ellie, Ellie, did people read books on transport or no? They just sit and sit.
They would read books, yeah, a little bit of that, but a lot of just sitting, yeah, like it's, yeah, I didn't see a lot of entertainment going on. Good question.
Very calm, I guess.
Very peaceful and very calm. Um, and very clean too. A lot of like cleanliness is a priority everywhere you go. We talked about the accessibility, how much more advanced it is for bathroom transportation and streets, infrastructure. And I feel like that goes hand in hand with the respectful nature of the culture and say just in general, thought and consideration put into so many different components of day-to-day life, whether it be walk up to a stand and get an ice cream cone and it's intricately um, wrapped in a beautiful paper with a perfect piece of mint put in it, a sprig of mint put in it, or whether you're on transport and the way they print your tickets. It's just every detail is very thoughtful and thought through. It's hard to imagine coming from where we come from. Trying to find another example of that. Oh, by the way, did you see this sign here? I got a really big kick out of this. On our way up a mountain to see a view, every couple of yards,
hmm,
you'd see a sign that said, 10-minute walk, 7 if you run a little, 7 if run a little. And then and then as they got closer, 5-minute walk, 2 if you run a little. I thought that was cute.
Did you run a little?
No, no, like I said, this was the day we had extreme heat and I suffered from, it wasn't heat stroke, like I said in the video, it was heat exhaustion. And I actually, yeah, I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. It was very, very uncomfortable and I almost had to be evacuated, but I was able to calm down and regulate my nervous system and my professor knew what to do to help me. But I almost missed out on the rest of the day going to see the beautiful view and going to see the temple and the Buddhas because the heat, when I was right here, where's this picture of me on um, I was on my last leg right here. I was smiling, but I was feeling really in pain. And yeah, if you're not properly hydrated, you got problems.
Is it a dry heat like the Midwest, or is it a humid heat like Georgia?
Yeah, good question. It was like a suffocating, wet, humid heat.
Ah,
So it's kind of like this stifling, and this is August, and they don't recommend you really visit in August, but that's when we had to be there. But there's air conditioning in most places, but not always, and it's a lot of humidity, not dry. So that's what the feeling I was having was like I was gasping for air and couldn't quite get a breath out in this. You can see it's like a desert sand, and there was no water, no water, and these deer, by the way, were suffering from the heat too. It was actually kind of sad to see. They are totally wild, but they don't get taken care of or fed at all. They have to fend for themselves. even though there's all these tourists around feeding them chips and ice cream. They can't find fresh water always. But Miyajima is where you see the famous, does anyone recognize this gate? This famous, this jumped out at me. I recognized this from pictures before.
That's the Grand Shinto Torii Gate, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Nice. How'd you know that? Did you look that up?
Uh, it's a lot bigger than you think it is. Like it's huge. It's gigantic, and it's considered kind of like when you think of the Eiffel Tower, you think of France, you think of that you think of that, you think of the Grand Torii Gate when you think
Right.
of Japan. Like it's
Yeah, and then the tide comes in and out. Maybe this shows you better, but that's how big it is compared to the people.
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I forgot the name, but you did show us
Briefly,
last time that one.
Yeah, the Shinto gate. Let me remind myself.
yeah.
What else do you want to know? Ask me anything. I have other images I can show. This is called floating. Okay, the iconic floating Great Torii Gate of Itsukushima.
Would you go
Miyajima
back?
Island. Would I go back? Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to go back in the fall.
Hmm.
Don't you think?
Yes.
If you know Ellie, she like to do everything. She wants to be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Did you
Something
guys
about
get a kick?
app.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just gonna say something about apples and trees.
Thank you, James.
Apples and trees.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. Did
Yeah.
you guys see this, by the way, in the video?
It's blank.
Oh, you're not seeing my screen? Shoot. What do you see? Your screen sharing is paused. I have to flip. Hang on. Did you see this? I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. The
Oh,
little
it's
boy,
funny.
when he saw the deer, and you can tell the deer is just as surprised. Um, the other gate I wanted to show you, I know this system didn't work very well last time, but we're gonna try. This was the other gate I wanted to show you was this one in, um, what was the name? Dad, what is the big city in between Tokyo and Hiroshima? Um,
Kyoto.
Kyoto. Thank you. This is Kyoto. Look at these gates. Remember how I showed you these?
Yeah.
This was 1,000 gates. Those are
Mm.
beautiful red gates too.
Yes.
I know we looked at that last time, but
So,
look at
like,
them.
like, did you travel mostly by public transport? What was that like? Like,
Yeah.
because if I'm not mistaken, Kyoto is not close to Tokyo, etc., etc. Like,
Yep. Let's pull up a quick map of the Japan map. It's called the train is called
The Shinkansen.
Shinkansen. I want you to just what looks good. This one maybe? You're seeing my screen, aren't you?
Yep.
So, yeah, so if I start in Tokyo, I had an option between like an express, a medium speed, and a local speed. And I took the express when I flew in to go all the way to Hiroshima, which was about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, 4 hours, I want to say. But midway was Kyoto, so I knew I was going to come back and stop at Kyoto. But I flew in, spent a night here, went to lunch with my, I work for Panasonic, so they took me out to lunch. They helped me navigate the train system, which was crazy during rush hour. And I shot all the way down to Hiroshima, and then I had to get on another little local train to Saijo, the suburb that we talked about.
How would you rate that, like in comparison to the New York Metro like system?
It's very efficient, very clean. Just as people say, it was all true, just how nice it was and affordable and fast because it's obviously a high speed rail. So rate compared to the metro all around, including all those factors, probably 9 out of 10 versus a 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Our metro is pretty laggard, I think, compared to.
And, and when you say fast, like how long would it take you to get from even on the slowest one? How fast would you be going?
I think it was a difference of an hour, so I could get to Tokyo and Hiroshima in 4 hours or like 5.5 hours. So just more stops along the way, but it picks up a higher speed. Um, I say it felt like we were going, it was faster than any train I'd ever been on. What do you think, Dad? Do you remember? Did you ever ride you rode the Shinkansen?
You're muted, Mr. Tom.
Was your question about the speed or about how nice it was? Or,
Both. How was speed?
well, they're really fast, like well over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I found, as in most things in Japan, it to be very, very clean. They take a lot of pride in cleanliness, which is not always the case. We love New York, Athena.
Yep.
We love New York, Athena. Um, but sometimes it's not as neat and clean as it could be.
I know
Yeah.
I know it's very dirty. You're not saying anything negative to me, Mr. Tom.
Okay. All right. Well, we do
Although
love it.
it used to be much worse, and it's coming back around to that
Well,
slowly.
so it's getting better.
It
It's
got
good.
better, and now it's slowly going down again.
Mm.
Yep. The real New Yorkers notice that. You could see Mount Fuji, by the way, out the train window when you go from Tokyo to on this route. So they all recommend look right, sit on the right side of the train and look right, and you can see Mount Fuji. So I have to go back to really visit Mount Fuji. Kobe, does anyone know what happens in Kobe? You've probably had some of their product before. Beef, Kobe beef, famous Japanese Kobe beef in Osaka. I visited Osaka too. Not much going on, as much going on there. A lot of history, of course. It's still beautiful, but didn't take as many pictures there. I took this picture there.
It's good to see the map because then we can see how to spell the names.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Here's the Shinkansen. I showed you the video of it coming into the station last time, but it looks like it's a bullet train. And here was Osaka. Um, this was did I tell you how most of the castles in Japan were destroyed in World War II, sadly? This one was reconstructed. It had been bombed in World War II. And they lit it up at night. Anyways, I know we're coming up on time, but I really want to make sure You like seeing the map, and you can see, remember how we looked up how it's the area, about the area of California? And let's remind ourselves about population. 124 million versus California,
Well, considering there's about,
39.
considering there's about like 300 million in the United States, imagine shoving
Yep,
a little under half of the US in California. Like
yep,
that's insane. So,
it's insane.
Yeah, I
Um,
looked up a stat about the number of people per square mile in Japan, 875. The average number of people in the US, 94. So it's almost 10 times as crowded in Japan as it is in the US.
wow,
I thought that was interesting.
wow. Yeah, and you really don't feel that density.
Well,
Do you remember feeling it? I don't remember.
if you're in the Ginza, if you're in Tokyo, you feel it, but
Then you feel it, the
maybe
Ginza.
not, maybe not out in the countryside.
Here's the Ginza. See if who recognizes this. Who recognizes this image? Or
That looks like
this
Harrods.
is, this is really, yeah, that doesn't look right. This is really the picture. Come
Yeah, those
on.
lights are crazy.
Yeah, just the famous pictures of this is what I remember seeing in movies and stuff. The nightlife, on this crazy shopping street.
Yeah.
I know it's small for you guys, but it almost looks like Times Square, but Japanified. More screens, more lights.
what has it always been like that? When did they add the screens?
Dad, what was it like in the 80s?
Back in the olden days,
The
they had the
olden days.
screens. They're pretty technologically advanced, so they're usually the first ones to adopt these things.
Yeah.
I remember the lights and the screens back in the my first trip over there was in 1985, so
Um,
before you were born, James.
James,
Sadly,
What's that, Athena?
James, I should go because I have another meeting.
But
Don't worry, I know we're at time.
okay, okay.
Did we lose everybody else? Is everyone still here?
Mr.
Oh,
Christian, did you have a question?
Yeah, I I asking about
thanks,
the
Ellie.
Thank you,
uh,
Athena. See you next time.
Yes.
What was that, Christian?
I asking about the um transportation and the food, but you guys already answered it.
I mean,
Well,
Oh,
if you have any other questions, we have a minute. Do you want to ask anything about the transportation of the food?
yeah.
yeah, I was just wondering if there was buses or the
Buses, yep. There were buses.
transportation. Did you did you guys ride in the buses or
Yeah,
anything or
we did, and they're very similar to what the MARTA system in it. Are you in Atlanta, Christian? Where are you?
Florida?
Okay, you're in Florida. They're very similar to an American bus. That was nothing crazy. You know how to pay for a bus with Apple Pay? You know how that's the new thing that everyone's doing? We did the same thing there.
Okay. Okay. And what about the food? Was it hot?
Was it
Um, the food that you showed us.
Um,
What?
yeah, so here's a picture I can quickly show you. Here is a primo Japanese meal that the funny story, on my first night, I mean, I know I'm not sharing my screen. 1 second. Here's another. Bear with me. On my first night, I was staying at a nice hotel in Tokyo and accidentally stumbled into like a 6 course meal. But here's an average night. Ramen, edamame. Again, we're at the same place that you saw the guy serving us from behind the counter. We came back because we liked it so much. Beer, chicken wings. They were like these, coated in a different kind of sauce. Miso soup, um, soy sauce, and ramen, which is boring. I know you already know about all that, but let me show you. And they like their beer, the Sapporo beer. We're all drinking Sapporo. So, but let me show you. Let me show you this. And I took this picture from my dad. This guy was wearing a golden bear hat. But look at this meal that I stumbled into on my first night. It was crazy. Here it is. Actually, this was my last morning. Um, so what you have here is, and I know that's annoying. Uh, James, remind me how to fix that.
What do you need to fix?
Trying to center this without.
Uh, um,
let's see.
uh,
Here, this is close enough. So
yes.
what you have here is tea. I even have a menu here because this was a hotel, so they put it in English, but a nice herbal tea. You had salmon. This is a lotus. This is cold. Everything here is cold. Bread. Actually, yeah, I think there was some sort of loaf of bread. This was a lotus. So you know the lotus flowers? Those porous, beautiful pink flowers with holes in them? You
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Google it later, but that they eat those and they're kind of like the texture of a chewy cantaloupe, like a cantaloupe. And
Okay.
then here you've got miso soup. I don't know about you, but I love miso soup. I shouldn't have touched. I love miso soup. In here we had fish eggs, and um, little fish sardines almost, tiny little sardines, like the size of a piece of gum, small piece of
Okay.
gum. And here was rice, and this is for breakfast.
Oh,
And there
wow.
was some raspberries in here, and this was like a 5-star breakfast. Oh, and right here was pudding, some sort of
Wow.
pudding.
Wow.
So does that? What do you think of that?
Oh my God. That's actually making me hungry there.
That making you hungry? And here's the
Yes.
menu. I can't read it, but yeah, it was good. Anything
Nice.
else?
No, I was just wondering about those two things, to be honest with it. Ellie,
Well, thanks for listening. What about who was the other person on the call? Did he have any questions?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mr. Will, did you have any questions? What?
Did you have any question, Will? He said no.
No.
Okay. Well,
I got one for Mr. Will. Did you see anyone playing outside or doing like sports or anything like that? Mr. Will is
oh, good
very
question.
passionate about sports.
Did you?
Good question. Was I in around parks? They like baseball. That's what it was. We watched a lot of baseball. They've got a team in Hiroshima called the Hiroshima Carps, which is a funny mascot, but carp like the fish. They were on TV. We almost went and saw one of those games, but didn't. Um, what else? So you'd see little boys playing baseball. And
James,
go ahead.
James, I
What's
need
that?
to go. James,
Yes,
Jane?
sir.
I need to go, but I'm gonna try and be on at 7:30.
Oh, all right. We'll see you later for bingo.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, bingo. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do bingo in like an hour. So, but thank you so much for your time, Miss Ellie.
Thank you.
We are so grateful, and we look forward to continuing this travel series. I know that everyone really enjoys your your extravaganzas. We might have to try. We might have to try a different time slot because I had more than one person tell me that they would have loved to come, but at
Oh, okay.
5:30 was hard for them.
Okay.
So,
Let
well,
me know. Let me know when could be a better time. What we can make
okay,
work. I'll think about what could come next. I've got a trip coming up that I could vlog. It's a lot easier for me to do the vlogging like I did for the New York one when I am taking the videos knowing they're for this purpose. So with this intention.
yes,
So I'm going to try to do that more. Okay? Thanks for
okay.
listening. I like talking about this stuff. So nice to meet you, Will, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Take care. Have fun at bingo.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.